Hinduism, there are three main sort of paths. You have Vaishnavas who worship Vishnu, Shivites who worship Lord Shiva, and Shaktas who worship the goddess Durga or Kalima. I happen to be from a Vaishnava tradition, Bengali Vaishnava tradition called Gaudiya Vaishnava. And in Vaishnava traditions, this plant, the Tulsi, is considered to be extremely important. Vishnu, he won't accept any offerings unless there's a leaf of Tulsi on top. She's that important in his worship. So there's a long story, but we'll just kind of get the main point, is that Tulsi is actually a goddess, Tulsi Devi. She's the bestower of bhakti. She's the one who can give you devotion. You may not be qualified, but she can actually give it to you. So in Vaishnava traditions, they worship this plant. And she's taken the form of a plant. And Vishnu took the form of a stone known as a Shalagram Shila. They're special stones which are in one river in Nepal, the Kaligandaki. Only place in the world you can find these stones. And very often they have different manifestations of Vishnu according to their shape and size and markings. So, that's a little minuscule background. The story I was going to tell her that Atmaram wanted me to tell is from something that happened in West Bengal, India. So I had a friend, a Polish guy, who had lived in this place for many years. And he was in the habit of going to the villages and cooking for people. He had a huge wok. I mean, this wok was so big you actually had to get in it to clean it. Like, it was such a big wok.
You had to walk in the wok?
Yeah, the wok in the wok. And he also had another 2 pots that were in another village. So he was in the habit that he would go out a couple times a week. He would buy wood, rice, dal, like dried beans, vegetables, and then he would go to a village and start cutting everything up. He'd get the villagers to help cutting and bring water, and they'd make a huge pot of khichdi, which was like rice and bean stew. He did this out of his own pocket. There's a huge ISKCON temple, but they don't really do anything to help the villagers around. And he could see that there was some need. The people are poor, they don't have an opportunity for working. So he, out of the kindness of his heart, would go and cook for these people. And while everything is cooking in the pot, usually some villagers would come with coal and kartal, and they would start to play and sing Hare Krishna in the village. And the names are like bubbling alongside the stew. When he wasn't cooking, he also used to go and like serve people with what they needed medically. I mean, he wasn't a trained doctor, but anybody from the West has some basic knowledge about keeping wounds clean and, you know, taking care of illnesses. So he would give people medicine, clean wounds. Really, he was serving the local people really nicely. And pretty much everybody loved him. His name's Mahashringa. It's a name for Mahashringa Dev, the lion incarnation of Vishnu. So Mahashringa would go in the village, and everyone would go, "Hey, Mahashringa, how are you?" In fact, the first time I went to the village with Mahashringa, we were swimming in the river. An old man came up and started yelling at Mahashringa in Bengali. And at the time, I didn't know any Bengali, so I had no idea what was going on. But this guy was like really mad. Finally, he just took Mahashringa by the hand, started leading him down the road. And we were like, oh my God, what's happening? So we start to follow. We go into this guy's compound, and this man said, Mahashringa said, "This man is angry because I brought guests, but I didn't bring them to his house." So he made us sit down, the villager, and they served us puffed rice with hot gur. Gur is date sugar. it was like such simple food, but it was like from the gods. I mean, it was so nectarian. And that man said, well, we grew this rice in our land, and we puffed it ourselves. And the date glor is from our date trees, and we cooked it down and made it. So everything came from their little compound. So everybody has this kind of mood with Mahashringa that they really, really loved him. But, you know, you can't please all the people all the time. So there was one guy in the village who was a bit of a drunkard. And he was really inimical towards Mahashringa. He said, I think maybe he thought that Mahashringa had some bad motivation, like maybe he wanted to steal their land, or he wanted something from them and he was trying to trick the people. So he was like a bit of a drunkard, and he was really nasty always to Mahashringa. Mahashringa was a really smart, simple but smart man. So he figured the way that he could kind of get him in was that he would go and water the Tulsi plant. So this is like, you know, a village, everything's made, you know, everybody lives in a bamboo hut. It's like really a village. And everybody has these sort of dirt courtyards. And most of the courtyards have a pedestal with the Tulsi plant on them because she's so highly regarded. She's like a goddess, so everybody comes and worships her. So he would regularly come into this man's courtyard, water the Tulsi, and just leave. And the guy kept seeing Mahashringa coming repeatedly, you know, water the Tulsi, and just leave. And after some time, he started to talk to him. And he became more friendly. So one day Mahashringa was watering the Tulsi, and he saw that in the dirt there was a stone. So he said, oh my goodness, maybe it's a Shalagram Shila. This is this special stone from Nepal. It's Vishnu. And actually they do a marriage ceremony between Tulsi and the Shalagram Shila. They actually do a full-on marriage ceremony. So sometimes you'll find that in the pot of the Tulsi plant there will be a Shalagram Shila. But they're black. They're very dark and black. And this stone was like white colored. So he thought, maybe it's a Shalagram. So he went over to the hand pump and he's pumping the water. He starts to wash it. It turns jet black. He says, oh, this is a Shalagram Shila. So he went to that drunkard and he began to explain to him the importance of what is a Shalagram. This is Vishnu himself. When you make a deity and you carve, there has to be a special ceremony in which it's called pran pratishta. They ask for the energy of God to come and breathe life into that form. But the Shalagram doesn't need that. It's already fully installed Vishnu in the stone. So he was telling this guy, this is really auspicious, you should worship, you should pour water on him every day. And this man became completely changed. He started to become very devotional towards Mahashringa. And after some time, he offered him that stone, that Shalagram Shila. He said, please, you should take it. You're like a saintly person, you should take it. So Mahashringa accepted. And after some time, he went on a trip to Vrindavan, which is Krishna's place. And there was a sadhu there that's well known for being able to look at the Shalagram Shilas and tell which incarnation of Vishnu it is. So he thought, well, I'll go to that sadhu and I'll find out like which Vishnu I have. So he went to the sadhu, he showed the Shalagram, and that sadhu said, this stone has many scratches and it has some chips, so it's not good for worshiping. You should take that stone and put it in the Yamuna River. Mahashringa was very reluctant. But then he thought, well, this is a saintly person, I should just follow his instructions. So he went to the river, he placed the stone in the river, and he walked away and he immediately regretted it. So he turned around, went back, got in the river, and went to where he thought he left the stone. But he couldn't find it. He couldn't find it. And he felt pretty heartbroken. And then he returned back to West Bengal, other side of the country. And after some time, he found himself in the village. And he went to see that man who'd given him the Sheila. And he found that the drunkard. Yeah. He went back to the drunkard, the former drunkard. And he found that plant, which the shalagram had been found with. In the pot. And she was a big plant. She'd been for many, many, many years. She dried up and died. Around the time that he had left the stone in the river. So, part of the tradition that I follow, we meditate on Radharani and Krishna in this mood of Vipralamba. Vipralamba means it's a separation. Krishna's in one place, and Radharani is actually married to somebody else, and she can't get to Krishna, and there's a huge longing. And if you've ever been in love with someone, you know that that longing when you're apart is much more intense than when you're actually together, because it's filled with a variety of emotions. There's longing. There's sadness, there's an intensity of love, and this is what we call Vipralamba. So, Mahashringa took that plant, a dried Tulsi, and he carved a necklace of beads from that plant. And later, he gave those beads to my ex-husband. And he wore them for many years. And when he moved to China, it seemed a little like out of place. What?
Didn't you do something with those beads? Take them
well,
somewhere?
Rasa took them to a jeweler and had silver caps put on each bead to make it a little bit more beautiful. Because it's not like an ordinary, Vaishnavas, especially Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we all wear necklaces made out of Tulsi. Because Tulsi is the bestower of devotion. So we wear them like as a special shield to protect us and to give us devotion. But this is not an ordinary Tulsi necklace, because it's like the embodiment of this mood of Vipralamba, this separation. Tulsi gave up her life in separation from her beloved, the Shalagram Shiva. So one day recently I remembered this necklace. And I said to Rasa, hey, I know you keep that necklace in your mom's house in Poland. Why don't you just give it to me? It's just sitting in a drawer. Like, you should give it to me. He said,
it should be worn.
No way. And when I asked him about it, he said, it's funny that you suddenly mentioned it, because I was in Poland recently, and I took that necklace and I brought it back to China with me. And I said to him, I know you. You're not wearing it. You have it like hanging on the wall as a decoration. But this is like a really special necklace. You should just give it to me. He's like, no way. And so a couple days ago, I came home from work and I got the mail, and there was a package from China. And inside the package was the necklace.
No kidding! You're wearing
No way.
Oh,
Can you share it? You can got to hold it? All right, so you guys, she's going to pass this around, and it truly is prasadam. This is living grace right here.
This is for me like the actual embodiment of this feeling of Vipralamba, this separation that one has for their beloved.
Well, you know, whenever your beloved is with you, like you're sitting down at the breakfast table, and you're reading the paper, and she might say something, and he may say something, and then you would look up, maybe just acknowledge what they said, and then go back to your paper, and you kind of, when your beloved's right there, it's easy to take it for granted. Right? When you're separated from your beloved.
Like Mocha is separated.
Think about times that you've missed your lover, whoever, male, female, and that longing that you have, then suddenly
or your mom.
There's anticipation. Yeah, it could be your mom. There's anticipation for, oh, maybe they'll be coming around the corner next. Maybe when I go out to the car, they'll just be pulling in the driveway, you know. So in every thought, every deed, and during separation, there's that anticipation, that longing. And so the mind constantly is thinking about it. It's almost an addiction.
And
that's bliss of separation.
out of the devotees of Krishna, Radharani is the most devoted. And she has many names, but one of her names is Krishnamoyee. Krishnamoyee.
Hey, hey.
Yeah.
And that means that Radharani's so focused on Krishna that she's filled with him. And I'm Krishnamoyee Dasi, that I'm her servant.
Wow.
And she's the chief attendant, isn't she?
Yes.
Krishnamoyee, of all of the other gopis. And,
Yep.
and you get to serve her.
Ideally.
Yeah. Sweet stuff.
Wow, this is
Thank you.
beautiful. Stunning.
So when I got that, I took a picture of it, and a couple people asked me what the story was. So I posted it on Facebook, but Atmaram wanted me to tell you guys in person.
Thank you. Such a storyteller. Wow.
Krishnamoyee is a fabulous storyteller. She's one of many. And this is from her own life experience, but she's familiar with the lives of saints and the leelas of the personalities. So I think we'll invite her back to tell more stories.
Yes.
So let's eat cake.
Carrot cake. Tell us about your cake.